Hello, I'm Hal Lublin.
And I'm Mark Gagliardi.
Since the dawn of humanity, one issue has gone unsettled. With the fate of the world in the balance, we're here to settle, once and for all.
Best coffee preparation.
That's right. Don't worry, everyone. We got this.
Podcast should have a theme song. Podcast should not have a theme song. Yes, they should. No, they shouldn't. They sound good. Yeah, but people are just going to skip past it. You know what? You're right. We got this.
Mark, wake up.
Oh man, I'm so sorry. Oh, it's been a while, Hal. It's been a long day. There was some way that
Have you tried cocaine? I'm sorry,
What?
coffee? Wait, sorry, only legal stuff. Coffee. Have you tried
Wait,
coffee?
is this episode best cocaine preparation?
No?
No.
Is it? Do you want it to be?
No, Hal. Let's
Okay,
talk about
fine.
coffee.
I don't have any, so good. Yeah, we're going to talk about coffee, how to prepare it, but we are ourselves prepared for this because we have a wonderful guest with us, an award-winning writer who is also the host of I Said No Gifts, Bridger Winegar. Hello and welcome.
Hi, you two. I've got my night coffee, which is just Diet
Ooh.
Coke.
Yeah. If they called Diet Coke night coffee, I would be all about it because I also have that proclivity and addiction to Diet
Somebody's got to launch that brand, Night Coffee.
Right.
That really does sound sleek.
Coke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rebrand decaf as night coffee.
Right.
Thank you for being here. I Said No Gifts is a hilarious delight.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we figured you're an internet legend. You're probably fueled by coffee. So let's talk about this.
Yeah, a lot of caffeine.
What's your coffee CV?
Well, I mean, coffee, first of all, I have to drink probably 6 times as much coffee as a normal person just to have like a regular personality.
Really?
Pre-coffee, I'm
brings
just
you up
agony
to-
as a person.
To a regular human baseline.
Yes, I have to go so far with caffeine. I think my body chemistry is essentially just a dead person. So I start drinking very early, coffee very early, and I'm just kind of cold brewing it through the entire day. But I was late to coffee as a person because I grew up Mormon. So, it was a bumpy road to begin with.
So the Mormon church is still no caffeine. That's still part of the deal, right?
Oh my God, it's so confusing. It really is a baffling rule. You can drink caffeine in soda, but you can't have coffee at all, even decaf coffee.
Really?
I mean, surprise, surprise, some of the rules don't make sense.
Sure. A religion that's got some rules that don't all check out.
Yeah, so you can drink. Most normal middle-of-the-road Mormons will drink like a Diet Coke or a Mountain Dew or whatever for their caffeine. Some will drink non-caffeinated tea, but not caffeinated tea. But coffee across the board is a no-no.
Wow. So you came to this later in life.
Yeah, I think the first time I ever had coffee, I was 24. It was when I was interning for David Letterman, and my bosses would order these massive iced coffees every day. And I was embarrassed to order anything because I didn't know how to order. So they were ordering the most disgusting iced coffee, just loaded with hazelnut syrup. I was like, oh, this isn't very good. This is, but like every day for maybe 5 months. I don't know. I was drinking this horrible thing. And so when I began ordering my own coffee, it's now just straight black coffee. So it's been a real swing from the worst to just pure coffee.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense that if that's what you were given and that was definitely not cutting it, swing that pendulum all the way the other direction. Get the plainest version. Now, nowadays, now that you have had a few years with coffee, do you have a preparation that you use at home primarily and one that you have out in the world, or how does it work for you?
Well, as a gay person, it's almost all iced.
Okay, sure.
I drink cold brew almost exclusively. I make my own at home, like a batch every week, which like I use this thing called a toddy, and it makes a massive carafe of just like concentrate, and I'll drink that in the morning. And that was, I bought that to, not buy more coffee. And then of course I'm going and buying a coffee anyway. So, but that's like how I start. And then I go find cold brew elsewhere. I go to a place called Found Coffee, which has just become my cheers. And then I have an extremely strong cold brew there. And I since I've begun medicating with some antidepressants, I used to drink probably 3 cold brews a day, but now it's 2. And after that, I start to feel methy. So that's why at night now I'm just drinking the Diet Coke, which is just moderate enough to keep me awake and mildly pleasant.
Yeah, just give you that, get you up to that baseline.
Yeah.
Baseline humanity. You know, it's cool that you mention found coffee being your cheers, because in proper fashion for this show, I did do a little bit of a dive into some coffee history, and coffee shops were treated just like the tavern was, as a centerpiece for the exchange of ideas in the Islamic world long before coffee ever reached Europe. These were the community centers. Were these coffee shops in a world where alcohol was forbidden.
Right. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So that is a perfect place to have as your cheers, is a coffee shop, because instead of drunk and cloudy, everybody is caffeinated and eager, which is why leaders used to not want people to go to the coffee shops, because it was easy to foment a revolution. If you weren't drinking gin, you were drinking just pure wake up juice.
Right. Everyone's very edgy and annoyed with how things are going.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. See, I'm similar to you, Bridger. I mean, I'm not really into coffee, but I didn't even try it until college. And I had a similar experience to you too, where one of my best friends to this day was trying to, he loved coffee. And so that was he would wake up, make coffee. It was a big deal for him. So we went to a Barnes and Noble and ordered a coffee. And then I proceeded to put everything I could in it. Cause, you try it on its own. It's so bitter. And then I just kept at it. What else can I pump into this? Make it taste like anything that is not coffee. And now, as a result of that, the only way I can really have it is in a Frappuccino. So I'm
oh my God.
Because I'm Bridger, I'm like a 12-year-old. Never had a drink in my life. Would have been a great Mormon. Don't even drdrink soda.
I know. I feel like I should convert you. I've left it and I can replace me.
Look, I'm listening is what I'll say. I'm open to it. But it has to be served to me like I'm a child. You have to hide it in a milkshake for me to drink it. And then later on, I'm like, my stomach feels weird and I have a headache. What's happening? I'm not used to the caffeine still, but I'll go and get it because I like milkshakes.
And that's basically what that is.
Yeah, it is a milkshake. But in the morning, what is your beverage? Just water?
Just water. I'm drinking water. Yeah.
I don't know what I was doing before. I guess I was eating cereal, cold cereal, so I guess I didn't need a drink. But now I don't eat cereal, but water.
And you can't tell looking at this because it's really neck bone up, but I'm not in good shape. So it's not he's a temple and he's got to keep it going. It's just, I don't know why I wandered out. My mother made coffee all the time. I liked the smell of it. She would put a cinnamon stick in the ground. So it had a little, flavor to it. I don't know, but it smelled that smells very familiar to me, but I can't stomach the drink, but I'm fascinated by all the different ways there are to make it. Cold brew versus iced coffee versus drip versus press. All these different ways it's fascinating.
New way, every 6 months at this point. I feel like every coffee shop is we're doing this type of brewing. And the marginal difference.
So there isn't really much of a difference.
There's weird little subdivisions. Okay. So this is they can all get, I think, distilled back to, and now we might as well jump right into the topic at hand. I think we can look at them as distinct groups. And within each of those groups, there are different methods of breaking it down even further. There's the pour over method, which includes things like the V60, the Wave, the Chemex, all these different things that the Chemex being that glass carafe that a lot of places use now.
Right.
But also just a drip coffee machine. That is a pour over. It's just an automated version of a pour over.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so you've got the pour over coffee. You've got percolated coffee, which would be a French press would be a percolator, right? And and a mocha pot. And then you've got your steam high pressure coffee. And that would be also a mocha pot a little bit with the pressure in that, but that gets in espresso machines and all of that.
Where does the AeroPress fall? I've never used one, but AeroPress sounds high pressure to me.
What is an AeroPress?
So the AeroPress it looks like a big push pop. An AeroPress looks like a big...
Oh, yeah, that's the thing you go like that. And then I thought that was a French press because you're pressing.
It looks kind of like a French press, but it's, I guess, more space age.
Yeah, it's like a space age French press. But their idea is they're like, no, it's pressurized, so it's like espresso. There's so many different things that claim to be like it's like an espresso machine. None of them are except an espresso machine. And yeah, the AeroPress, you're just using, it's not steam pressure based and hydraulics, it's your own hand pressure. Like, how hard can you push this coffee into a puck?
Now, right. I have a question. So you make your own cold brew, Bridger. I have a question about this because it seems like pressure is real important to make coffee in some cases, but also what a lot of these have in common is you need incredibly hot water, I guess, to get through the coffee. So in your process, does it have to be hot and then you have to make it cold right away, or you make it and then put it in the fridge? What is that process?
It's entirely room temperature water. So but it sits for 24 hours. So the water just soaks in you have to get coarse grounds. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but you just leave them for 24 hours and then you refrigerate that. And I think that's why cold brew is much more mellow. It's easier to drink. It's not as acidic. It's not as sharp and bitter. And it must be some type of science is happening. And, I was like, I'll be able to explain this. Of course I can explain this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of just sitting around in room temperature.
So you have to, before you run out, you're like, I got a day's worth of this left.
Oh.
And it's 24 hours to brew it. Like, if you forget it, you're like, it's Monday. I don't get coffee until Tuesday now. Or do you just go out the front door and get your iced coffee for the day?
That's frequently what'll happen is I'll just break down and then I end up buying 2 coffees that day.
Sure.
Sometimes I'll buy the coffee the night before. I'll go to Starbucks or whatever and just get cold brew, no ice. So there's a lot of it in there and just put it in the fridge. I mean, that's desperate behavior.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm describing somebody who is at Starbucks at 9 p.m. getting a cold brew with no ice. So that's something I'm not totally proud of. And that's why I try to stay on top of the schedule of the cold brewing.
Right.
How does Starbucks feel about you ordering the cold brew with no ice? That feels like, if you're like, I'd like this drink, but also can you just get rid of the part that's cheap and fill it with all the very expensive part of this?
I'm almost worried to even mention this publicly because I don't need Starbucks HQ shutting down my operation.
Yeah.
But
you've got a system going.
I feel like the employees, every time I order, I'm scared. I'm like, they're not going to let me do this. And I think, oh no, they don't care.
No.
Why would they care? They're probably happy that I'm like robbing the company.
Yeah.
But then
Howard Schultz cares, but that's it.
Yes. Is he still alive? That's a good question.
That I don't know.
He ran for president and vanished. But then the other thing I think is ice kind of costs them money as well.
Right.
So maybe equally expensive for them, hopefully. Starbucks,
well, you're doing it at the end of the day. So you're getting the coffee equivalent of this morning's donuts.
Right. Week-old bread.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the best coffee preparation is yesterday's weak coffee. No, that's it. You mentioned it as being concentrate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And Starbucks, theirs is not concentrate. They obviously water it down so you're not dying. But this is too much information. I don't know why I know any of this, but
that's literally what this show is about.
When cold brew started to kind of become trendy or like people were asking for it, Starbucks was a little late to the game, but when they started offering it, the employees, I don't think knew what they were doing and would sell you just 32 ounces of cold brew concentrate, which was basically drinking gasoline. I remember being like, oh, every time I go to Starbucks, I get in a fight with my boyfriend. What's happening? And then I was like, oh, it's because I'm probably drinking 1,000 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah.
So they figured it out. And thank God, because I think their iced coffee that's not the cold brew is the worst liquid in the world. There's no other liquid that tastes worse than their iced coffee.
I guess I don't really know the difference between an iced coffee and a cold brew.
You would if you tried both of their... I mean, I'm not saying their cold brew is great, but in the only thing I can describe their iced coffee as is shadow piss. It's horrible. All right. I mean, Yeah, I'm glad that they've kind of gotten with the times.
I like that you described it as the worst liquid in the world and then augmented that to the worst liquid to drink. So, okay.
Sure.
The worst tasting liquid in the world.
I think I might know the difference between cold brew and iced coffee.
What?
Based on, because what Bridger was talking about is this process of making it at room temperature and then it goes into the fridge. So it's more concentrated and it's
the like brewing process is cold.
Right. Iced coffee is you take a cup of ice and then you pour coffee over it. That is warm,
coffeed
right?
ice.
That is called, I think that's kind of technically an ice pour over.
Okay.
I think what Starbucks is doing is they're just serving you old coffee that they poured over ice.
Yeah.
So it was hot coffee, not prepared well, left on a counter, and then dumped over ice. So it's just like the worst of the worst.
They just dip a cup into like a caffeine chum bucket with some ice, and then they serve that to you.
They just wring out the bar rags.
Sure.
All right, let's dive into some of these different methods of preparing coffee.
Sure.
Do you guys want to talk about pour overs? We've mentioned pour overs a couple of times. We've got the classic drip coffee pour over. You've got the Chemex, which is the glass. You have the ceramic, the little ceramic cup that sits on top of whatever your mug is. And then you have the fancy little metal pour over. Do you guys do pour overs ever?
I have it's like a pour over. It's a drip machine, but it's called like a Bona Vita or something. And it's made so it's closer to what like a handmade pour over does. It like most drip coffee, it's just one stream into the coffee. And so a lot of the grounds kind of get burnt or it makes it not super pleasant. And this is like a little shower for the coffee. And so the flavor, even if you buy kind of crappy coffee, it tastes pretty good.
Okay. I thought when you said it was more like it was hand done, I'm picturing like a Disney white glove with a spring arm attached from like a machine that would have shown up in Toontown. But I can dig that because if you just get that one little drilled spot through the middle, half the coffee is, I think there's something elegant that is missing when you use a machine, with the exception of one machine that I will mention later.
Mr. Coffee.
I'm excited to hear about that.
But,
and I feel like there's another machine we'll have to talk about.
This is exciting. But I feel like there's a certain elegance to a lot of these pour over systems and there's a beauty to it. And it's like a centerpiece that you can leave out and there's ritual and there's sort of just staying in touch with what you're putting in your body, mindfulness to not using a machine version. Do you guys have any thoughts on the purely aesthetic elements, specifically of pour overs versus other methods?
I mean, I think the Chemex, I don't know how to operate one. And all of these, they are the most intimidating things with coffee.
Sure. Yeah.
But I feel like the Chemex is so beautiful. And what was the other one you said?
There was the Chemex, there was the V60. The V60 is the ceramic cone shape that you put on top of another glass. And then there is the Kalita Wave, which is the little metal version of that.
I've got to get my eyes on a Kalita Wave. What the hell is that?
Yeah, Kaleta.
I have a question in the meantime, and maybe one of you knows the answer to this. Where does the line sit between having like a very specific and intricate way to make your coffee and just having stuff out that you think will make you look interesting? Like you're hoping you have somebody over for some other purpose and you're just hoping that they will ask you, hey, what's that series of vials on your counter? So that you can tell them how you do it.
I think the version of that is the Chesve Ibrick. That's going to be the one that if you have that, people are going to be like, oh, you live in Brooklyn and have a twirly mustache. That is the Turkish coffee, tiny little copper jar with it looks like Gandalf's pipe. But on the end, it actually like super, super fine, like matcha powder ground coffee with boiling water. And then you just sort of like very elegantly like Salt Bay with this long stem, just pour that into a little cup.
Oh, and you do the thing where you circle it as you pour.
Very flashy.
Yeah. I can't. I would get bored in like 2 seconds.
That's that Turkish coffee that leaves the sludge on the bottom because you're actually pouring the grounds into the cup as well.
Oh, That's not super pleasant.
No, so that's why it's super fine powder, and white Turkish coffee will mess you up like you were drinking Starbucks concentrate.
Yeah, those the ones that look really beautiful, I actually wouldn't mind one to just trick people into thinking that I have the strength and energy to do that sort of thing, and then I'm just pulling it out of the fridge. But like when I need coffee, like in the morning, I am in no mood to be doing any type of mechanics.
Yeah.
I just need to be pouring it into a thing that I will then be drinking out of.
The button with the light on it, just push that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I see these TikToks with people. I have a lot of food stuff in my feed, and it's always like the guy who's making, or somebody's making something from scratch, and it looks amazing, but you can tell, even with the editing, that it took them probably 2.5 hours to make it. And like, you have to start at 3 p.m. if you're making dinner. You cannot be hungry while you're making it. Like, it just, at a certain point, the juice isn't worth the squeeze anymore. Like, you could have just gone and gotten it. Could have gone to found coffee and just
absolutely
get it there. Yeah, there is that cutoff point of this is too hard at home.
Oh yeah. It's like at this point I could have just worked a part-time job for those 2 hours and then paid for a better prepared version of this.
Yeah, exactly. So that is the pour over styles of coffee maker. Within the pour over styles, let's see if we can do a couple of little mini battles to take some people to the finals with us here. You mentioned the Chemex and the beauty of the Chemex. It is one that is, the glass will not hold the heat as well as other vessels will, but it does have
crack.
It's designed not to crack, but it's like, if you're going to make a Chemex, you better make that out of some glass. Like, if its one job is to be an hourglass full of coffee, but then there's a sticker on it that's like, cannot handle hot liquids,
this will blow up.
Yeah. Oh, I bet I could break that. I did it once with one time I made chicken in a Pyrex thing. This was long before I was married.
How'd you break Pyrex?
It's, the glass Pyrex. I definitely did it at too high a temperature. And then I took the chicken out and then I went to wash it immediately because I couldn't have it be dirty. And as soon as the water could have been boiling. As soon as it hit it, it was like a cartoon character that got punched in the teeth. It was just like broke into pieces.
Stayed whole for 1 second and then just
done. Yeah.
I have a very traumatic memory of being in our kitchen as a kid, and my mom had left a glass pie tin on the stovetop, and the stove was on, and the thing blew up.
Oh, geez.
Like, glass everywhere. I can't believe none of us was injured. I just remember, like, we're all under the table like there was an earthquake.
Holy cow.
Yeah, glass is really interesting if you get it too hot.
How did you all, so like you heard one giant pop and then all ran and got under the table like, is there other glass also on the stove? I don't want to get up and look.
Yeah, I don't know what my mom's thought process was as far as let's get under the table.
Now, while you're under there, pick up all this glass.
Yeah, exactly. We're all just kneeling in glass. Palms just bleeding.
It's like Die Hard.
Oh, just get from one end of the kitchen to the other with this coffee in your hand.
Yeah.
And no shoes. We're going to take a quick break in a moment. Do we have anything from the pour over department that's going to come through to our final round? We've got, and this includes the drip coffee machine. I would say our big contenders in this are the drip coffee machine and the Chemex pour over, because that seems like you don't need the extra cup that you would with the V60. The Kalita Wave is just too extra. The Chemex is a classic pour over. Yeah. It seems like the Kleenex of the pour overs because they call the grind that you use for a pour over Chemex grind.
Oh, interesting. That's not a romantic way to describe coffee.
No.
So clinical.
How do you like your coffee?
Yeah.
Chemex.
Chemex.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the drip machine.
Yeah.
Especially a decent one. You can get it, and it's so easy. And we all know how to push a button.
Yeah.
Yes.
Easy to make coffee in it.
And eventually, like me, you'll figure out where the water goes for guests and not just pour it. Definitely have done that with them. But I love the gurgle, like that little gurgle, like it's gonna.
Oh, the sound effect alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's nice. And it does, like most drip coffee will do that shower version, at least all the ones I've had, over the top of it. So it's not just one little spot down the middle. All right. So out of the pour over category, we have the classic Americana drip coffee machine. When we come back, let's talk about some immersion coffees and some high pressure coffees. How does that feel, gentlemen?
Incredible.
Let's do this. I need some coffee in the meantime.
Wake up. Here, take some cocaine.
Oh, good. We'll be right back.
People say not to judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree.
Which is why here on Just the Zoo of Us, we judge them by so much more.
We rate animals out of 10 in the categories of effectiveness, ingenuity, and aesthetics, taking into consideration each animal's true strengths, like a pigeon's ability to tell a Monet from a Picasso, or a polar bear's ability to play basketball.
Guest experts like biologists, ecologists, and more join us to share their unique insight into the animal's world.
Listen with friends and family of all ages on MaximumFun.org or wherever you get podcasts.
I'm Dan McCoy.
I'm Stuart Wellington.
I'm Elliot Kalin.
And together we are The Flophouse, a long-running podcast on the Maximum Fun Network, where we watch a bad movie and then talk about it.
And because we're so long-running, maybe you haven't given us a chance. I get it, but you don't actually have to know anything about previous episodes to enjoy us, and I promise you that if you find our voices irritating, we grow endearing over time.
Perhaps you listened to one of our old episodes and decided that we were dumb and immature. Well, we've been doing this a while now. We have become smarter and more mature, and generally nicer to Dan.
But we are only human, so no promises.
Find The Flophouse on MaximumFun.org or wherever you get podcasts.
You guys missed it during the break. Mark started like 5 businesses on that cocaine. They all failed. He's broke now.
But the band is doing great.
His Shark Tank appearance was amazing.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some different versions of immersion brewing. That would be, there's only 2 in this that I know, and that's the French press. Well, though the Ibrik, Çezve Ibrik, the Turkish thing, that would also be immersion because the grounds are in the water as opposed to being like the water pushed through and coming out the other side. You're going to wind up with cloudier coffee in an immersion process, but the big one in this is the French press. What do we think about a French press?
I love the French press. It's so satisfying. Pushing that thing down. I mean, I don't own one, but when I'm allowed to push the French press, I feel like I'm the boss of the table.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's a toy.
It is a toy. It's
a toy that makes coffee. It's great.
Do you feel the pressure, though, if you're like having brunch with people and they're like, Bridger, will you do the plunger on the French press? You're like, what? I got to pick what time to do it. Like, it takes a while. The French press is, 4 to 6 minutes to get that coffee steep just right. The immersion is the process takes a little longer. You don't want it to get cold. You got to do it you got to do the right pace.
Right. The pace is always a little scary.
Yeah.
I'm like, am I going too fast? Am I going to ruin everyone's coffee?
Yeah.
And it's tempting because plunging, I think most plunging is violent and fast.
Yeah.
So you kind of want to get in there and just shove it all down.
Yeah.
Right.
You want to be the one that makes coffee real quick. Like, look how fast I can make the coffee.
I ruined everybody's breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're both blowing my mind right now because that would have been my instinct. I've never made French press coffee, but I love pressing things. I like making the levers and the buttons go. And I would definitely go like, look, I made it fast. Now everybody can drink coffee. And it would just be like tan water.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you look like Crazy Harry from the Muppets.
Yeah.
Pushing down on the plunger to make the dynamite go. Jeez.
So you have
more things should operate with the plunge.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody loves that action.
Box, the plunger, like it's like you're blowing up a train track in 1880.
Why can't that be how you start your car?
Or your TV.
Or your TV.
I would love a TV that started with a TNT plunger.
Wait, there's some between that and cocaine Shark Tank. I think there are 2 winning ideas that have come out of this episode already. Just huge money makers.
I think a French press is up there. There are some cons to the French press. Having a bigger grind so that the particles don't go through the mesh means that it's going to be a slightly weaker coffee and the time that it takes to do it. But it is such a simple thing. That I think is the elegance of the French press. It's if you have the jar and the plunger, anyone can make coffee.
My thing with the French press, though, is I feel like once you've done that one, there's no more coffee. I mean, it's easy to obviously do it again, but it feels like we've done the one time and then nobody gets any more coffee.
Yeah,
so I've never seen like a second French press. Yeah. You know, we did this one and now everybody gets water.
Yeah. And I feel like that's a diner thing too, or like a restaurant thing. Because when you order coffee in a place where the server's just walking around with that pot refilling, you could have a bajillion cups of coffee. New York diner, like style. Let's do that. But a French press is, if you order a coffee and they're like, we do a French press, you're like, I now know that I have a finite amount of coffee coming. And if I want more, I'm going to have to buy another French press.
Right. If I'm at a restaurant and get coffee, it has to be unlimited refills. I will only, unless it's an espresso drink, there is no excuse for there not to be someone walking around with a pot of coffee to refill my drink.
Yeah. Yeah, let's keep it coming. I'll tell you my favorite version of the ton of coffee. And it was coming off of one trip where the coffee was all very small. You get one. It's just a little, it's a very delicate and refined moment. And then going to one of the hotel resorts at Walt Disney World in Florida to the breakfast cafeteria area. And it is nothing but a wall of urns. They're like, listen, all of us know this is not good coffee. All of us also know that you've got a 2-seater stroller and another one strapped to your chest, and you are about to spend a whole day in a theme park. Load up, unlimited refills. They're practically at the tables. It's just these giant taps of coffee. Load the F up.
Families fighting all over the park.
Oh, yeah.
Mom and dad just screaming at each other.
One of those urns is just Starbucks concentrate. They don't tell you which urn.
The instigator.
Yeah.
I was at a diner in Burbank a little while ago, and I had a glass of water. The water was no longer in it, but there was ice, and I asked the server, could I order an iced coffee? And she had the hot carafe of coffee, and she just dumped it over the ice in my former water glass. I've never had a worse tasting drink. But I mean, God bless to just be like, this is how I'm going to do this for you.
But you know what? She got you there. You asked and received.
Here's exactly what you asked for.
That's MacGyver level inventiveness right there.
So I'd like to step away from some of the simpler ways of making coffee. I have two more that I would like to dive into and talk about. One, purely selfishly, is what I use at home. And I think it is, after years of different kinds of coffee creation, this is the one that I've latched onto, and that is the mocha pot. Are you guys familiar with the mocha pot?
Is this the little, it looks like an old-fashioned kettle thing?
Yes, the squat little Italian silver hexagonal.
Oh, yeah. Goes on the stovetop?
Right. It goes on the stovetop. It's perfect for camping because the water in the bottom percolates up through the top. Invented in Italy by Alfonso Bialetti in 1933, in an era after Italy had really created and embraced espresso culture, which, spoiler alert, is the other machine I'm going to get to in a minute. But the mocha pot, I think, is a perfect, because it percolates through the bottom, it uses pressure to create this super intense coffee that is kind of a cross between a percolator coffee and an espresso.
And where are the grounds going in that?
The grounds go inside a little, there's a little grounds holder funnel.
Oh.
The grounds go inside that. You know what? Give me 2 seconds.
I want to see how this works. I think they're very cute little things.
Yeah. I saw a guy at my work post pictures of this coffee thing that he has that looks like a
All right, this is my mocha pot. I'll tell you later. I love it. This is on the bottom. Wait, what did you guys say about me while I was gone?
No, nothing.
I just hate you so much.
Yeah, that's all.
So this is the water goes in here.
Go. Okay.
And then the coffee grounds go in this, which has that goes in there like that. That drops in. And then on top of it, there's a filter and a gasket and a little stem that goes inside. So what happens is when I seal this, it pressurizes the coffee and the water underneath. Steam pushes it up through the middle, and it creates, like I said, a cross between espresso and percolator or pour over coffee. I love it. I use it every morning. It's the simplest. It's a little bit like having espresso, but it's not the proper espresso machine.
And how many cups of coffee do you get out of that thing?
So, because it's concentrated, you'll get about 4 cups that if you add boiling water to will be the equivalent of, you can add boiling water to it up to like a 10-ounce mug.
Okay. So, I mean, now you're losing me when I'm putting 2 things on the stove.
Right. But I'm a guy that drinks espresso. So I like drinking it super concentrated from the little thing.
Right. Yeah, I'm usually an Americano sort of person.
Which means you have to also have, much like a pour over would, you have to have a second thing of hot water.
Never go to a second location.
Never go to a second location with a mocha pot. I just wanted to shout out my mocha pot. It is my absolute favorite way and a very Italian way of making coffee.
And it falls into the category of nice looking things.
Yeah.
It looks like you are serious about coffee.
It's well designed, I think. Like it's got a pretty look.
The kind of thing you always keep on the stove. So when somebody comes in, like, this person knows their coffee.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the espresso machine.
Yeah, let's hear this.
Is that the one where you pack it into the little thing and then that gets like it's like a lot of things.
Yes.
And then, but then you press it into this little cup.
You're creating a little
tenderizer.
Yeah.
And you put little holes in it, and then that goes in a thing that you violently put it into place. I like that part because you're moving a lever.
There's a satisfying
You
click.
like violence. Yeah, there's that.
There's a click, and then it pours out into the smallest cup you could imagine, so you feel like a giant, and it's very
super concentrated. Yeah.
How close am I to how that works?
Surprisingly close.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's making a little puck of coffee, and that is the one that really is forcing the steam through. Specifically, now I'm going to get a little in the weeds here. I'm going to go specifically with the espresso machine invented in Milan in 1938, which was the first one. Previous machines had used 0.75 atmospheres, which is, I guess, a measurement of the pressurized water pushing through it. This one used 9 times that. Ooh. So it got up to 9 atmospheres, and that was what created, that little sort of crema, like a little slightly thicker brown colored foam at the top of a really good espresso. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That came about because of the invention of this machine. And that started that launched and skyrocketed Italian coffee culture. Cappuccinos, lattes, macchiatos, all of those things took off in the 20th century because of that machine, which led to Starbucks and your Frappuccino, the one coffee drink that you will rock out with, which has like 1 shot of that in it. And then how many scoops of ice cream?
Too many. I mean, it's over ice, but then they pump just like crude oil in it, but with sugar. And then there's whipped cream on there. And at a certain point, I know I'm just drinking ice and I don't really care anymore. Like it's a terribly constructed drink. It's awful. It's so bad.
I don't believe they're even putting coffee in that.
Yeah. There's hardly any coffee. It's most like, I like that. And then I like Breyer's coffee ice cream. Those are my 2.
Oh, delicious.
It's so good, right? Coffee ice cream is great.
Coffee ice cream is great.
No coffee in that either.
I feel like the Frappuccino has the whipped cream at the top, but the straw, it gets it from the bottom. So it's like, hey, do you like whipped cream? But do you want it in this particular drink when it's at its worst and only touching wet ice?
Clotted and it's really bad. Like the last bites that you spoon out because you're a completist like me are just torture. There's no good.
I've never had one. Texturally, is it like a milkshake or like a Slurpee?
It's closer to a Slurpee. So they blend the ice, they put the coffee in the ice pebbles into a blender and they blend it up, with the pumps of whatever in there, mocha, peppermint, whatever you're adding to it. Then that goes in.
Bubble gum.
But it sort of does the same thing as shaved ice. Like I'm from Philadelphia where we have water ice where it's pre-mixed. So you don't get, it never separates, but with shave ice, you get like 3 spoonfuls and then you're eating ice and drinking the liquid out of the bottom. Yeah. It separates the same way, even though it's blended, blended together. It's just I don't know how they screw it up scientifically, but it's not good. And I really want one right now.
Yeah. They're so terrible and so delicious.
They are like so tempting because they look incredible. It's like, oh, that's a milkshake. Of course.
It's 100% a milkshake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but lower calorie.
But then it doesn't have the best parts of a milkshake.
Yeah, and not lower calorie.
It's missing
good.
everything. It is lower calorie. It is.
No.
No way.
There are as many calories in a Frappuccino as there are in a supersized Big Mac meal.
Frappuccino's like $4.90 for a venti. Please.
Really?
Do you want me to pull up MyFitnessPal right now and show you?
I would love to know.
I don't. MyFitnessPal, I'll pull out Noom.
And then, but a milkshake, like a small milkshake, is like 800 calories.
I guess that's true. Yeah,
ridiculous because it's pure. It's whole milk plus ice cream versus mostly
plus
ice,
that full sleeve of Thin Mints
and whipped cream. And a full sleeve of Thin Mints.
Yeah,
and I top it off with some bacon fat, just on the rim of the glass.
No, I got a milkshake recently, and I never pay attention to them making it. I was like, I watched this time. I was like, oh, I'm eating 6 scoops of ice cream.
Yes.
It just makes eating ice cream so much easier.
Yeah,
it is.
It just goes right down, down.
It's wonderful.
Oh, yeah, I love a milkshake. I like a Frosty. Give me just beyond milkshake. Sure. Like you've churned it. It's close to butter, but no, you stopped.
With French fries. Is that the best version of coffee?
Delicious.
A chocolate Frosty with French fries?
Oh my God.
That's close. I'm surprised there's not a coffee Frosty.
So
there should be one. What is that? Because
there should be a mocha.
One is terrible.
Yeah. And I think you may have mentioned, or you mentioned one more machine. Are we talking about the Keurig?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hell on earth.
Yeah. Why hell on earth?
Oh, it's bad?
It's a printer. It's just, it tastes like coffee was put through a printer. It's revolting. And it's like, there's no element of it. Why does that even exist? Drip coffee. Yeah. If you need easy coffee, just drip coffee.
Here's the thing.
It's what a scam.
I have a Keurig. But
do you live in a hotel room?
I only ever use flavored coffees in it. So I'll look through my pod collection and I'll be like, well, do I want hazelnut, Christmas, which that's a flavor apparently, or peppermint or gin. It really is all just Christmas time flavors. Gingerbread, peppermint, pine.
All of which you can make another way.
That's true.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I don't want the machine of pumps because it all winds up at the bottom.
You really just want to taste hot plastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Really. I just want hot, slightly peppermint flavored plastic.
My dad has one and he uses it for chicken broth to make chicken broth. And I've tried it once. It's so bad. It's so bad. That is also shadow piss, but the soup version.
Wait a minute. He used it to make chicken broth. Does he have Keurig pods of chicken bones?
What?
Oh, yeah.
I was not aware of this.
They have bouillon as one of the choices.
Yeah, but not enough of it. It's like the packages of Lipton, like those soup packages where you really need to double the amount of packets to make it taste like soup.
Yeah.
But it's a weaker version of that in a pod.
Oh my gosh.
There is no reason for that to ever exist.
No.
There is simply no justification for that.
It may be that, or he may put bouillon cubes. He might just use it to get hot water and then do bouillon cubes, which is just as bad in my opinion. It's not any better, but also, like it doesn't seem, it's a neat idea that doesn't make anything good.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just a bad thing.
It is, look, now you've got me rethinking all of these flavored pods that have
if you like garbage. It, it's fine, Mark.
Thanks, buddy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no judgment.
No,
not at all.
Yeah. Listen, I don't pay too much attention. I'm a Happy Meal a week kind of guy. The Keurig's fine. I would posit that if we're pulling the drip coffee machine from the first round, the French press as our representative of the elegant manual preparations. And then with the machines, if we're looking at these machines, I gotta go with the proper espresso machine because it changed the game in coffee, specifically at coffee shops, because the machine would become the centerpiece of it. And I found this out. Not only is it called espresso because it is the water is expressed through the puck of coffee, but also because the rate to make a cup of coffee went from about 2 to 4 minutes at its fastest to 45 seconds with the advent of the espresso machine. And that just made that coffee culture turn and burn. They started calling them American bars in Italy, whereas previously you would sit down French cafe style, but now you're standing up at a bar. You grab your coffee, you drink it fast, it's made fast, and you're on the go. I would put that
Why?
espresso machine up in there.
No one in Italy is ever going anywhere. Why are they in such a hurry? It does feel like an American creation, like having to be in a rush. But you go to Italy, there's no reason to get a fast coffee.
I like the idea that you get your fast coffee and then go stand outside on the street and drink it, that one tiny espresso cup for the next 6 hours.
All right. Now I have a question. I'm going to send a picture to everybody. This is something that happened at my work. He brought this in. I guess he makes coffee. That's like his thing. I can't tell what this is. It involves weighing things, right? You can't figure out how, like, that's like a 3D puzzle that
I've got a
somehow
spinning
you can
wheel.
make coffee out of it.
That belongs in a dungeon.
Yes, it does look like that looks like something that needs a safe word to be operated.
What in the world?
All of these things are part of one process?
Yes, and see, there's distilled water. Like, this is a whole mood right here.
What I would like to see is, I would like to see this machine from the side, because I think that this is one of those manual lever espresso machines. There are so many machines. One of these machines that's like, here's a way to make espresso without using an espresso machine, that are all, none of them do, because espresso will only come from that much pressure.
You said you wanted to see it from the side, is that right?
Yeah, I want to see it from the side.
God.
You've got a side. Who is the guy that
course.
sends you, hey everybody, just so you know, here's how I make my coffee?
No,
or is this at work?
He wanted to test making the coffee, so he did it at work for anybody who came to the kitchen. I work remotely, so I wasn't there, but I saw the pictures and I couldn't figure out.
That's exactly what this is. This is a manual. I came across this in researching this episode. This is a manual, non-electric, non-hydraulic espresso machine.
This is too much.
That's a lot.
You can't get enough pressure though on this, but it is, as Ken put it, it looks like a saw level coffee.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think with coffee, like once you get to a level of quality with coffee, like when it's good coffee, I just don't feel like you need to put that much effort in. There are easier ways to get good coffee. This is not going to be that much better than another good cup of good coffee.
No, it's not. It's just going to be more pretentious.
Game. Yeah. This is someone who just loves to make it. Like, I love the process and I want to get real good at it. Like, I can get a good cookie in a store, but I like making my own cookies because I figured out
that's me.
Well, then you know what? This might bring us to a final question. You said you like a good cookie in a store, but you like to make it yourself.
Yeah.
Is our best version of creating coffee something that is easy to do at home? You know what I mean?
Accessibility.
The espresso machine is going to make a cup of coffee in 45 seconds. It's going to have that crema. You're pulling the essential oils out of this coffee at this point, and it's going to be perfectly executed. But, with $450 countertop espresso machines notwithstanding, is it practical to have this in your home? Or is something like a French press or a drip coffee or a mocha pot going to open that up, or a Chemex accessibility wise? You know what I mean?
Right.
You want to make your cookie at home, or do you want to buy the best cookie out in public?
I feel like buying we have to stop saying cookies, because it is a different realm, and I'm very serious about
That's
cookies.
That's true.
Okay. Oh, good. We'll have to talk about cookies another time.
Yes.
But with coffee, it's a great question, because I think I will always get a better coffee outside of my house.
Yeah.
But, I mean, for all of us, for everybody drinking coffee all the time, I think you make a good point of preparation. The ease and being able to do it at home and not having to have an entire counter dedicated to this mousetrap scheme to make coffee. I think that's worth considering.
Yeah. I also think about, the majority of the time we've used our coffee machine, which is one of the standard drip ones, is if we have guests over, serve coffee afterwards. So you need something that can make a good amount of coffee. Like, you don't want to go, all right, now let me make yours. You want everybody to be able to enjoy it at the same time.
Right. Or to have plenty to drink.
Right.
For yourself.
Right. Yes. Yeah. The whole pot of coffee's for guests, right, Bridger? Yeah.
Oh boy.
So do we want our easier coffee at home, where we can, and considering that as well, if we're entertaining at home, that is a bonus for that, because making individual espressos at home would be time prohibitive if you're throwing a party.
Or if you have to get out of the door.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. If you got a whole family that all wants coffee in the morning.
You can set up a drip coffee machine at night to start making the coffee. So by the time you come downstairs, it's done.
That's true.
Very true.
But that is not going to make the best coffee.
You
know what I mean? Like that, like what is it? We're talking about
coffee.
Best. That's the thing. We're talking about best coffee preparation. Is the good enough of a drip coffee made at home? Is the convenience of a good enough drip coffee enough to defeat the superior quality of an out in public from a proper espresso machine coffee? What do you guys think?
But then I start thinking about being a guest in someone else's home who doesn't care as much about coffee, and I want a coffee in the morning and they're making me bad coffee. So then that preparation is, I wish they didn't even own the machine.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. At this point, just give me a scoop of Folgers crystals and some boiling water.
Right.
Yeah. For the record, I don't hate instant coffee.
Oof.
Yeah.
Rough stuff. I mean,
I like the nuttiness.
The nuttiness, interesting.
There's a nuttiness to it. I like it.
Is it nuttiness to making it in the first place?
Yeah. There's a kookiness to making it. There's a nuttiness to drinking it.
I see.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking personally, I think that the ease and access of having some at home slightly edges out having incredible coffee.
Yeah.
As far as preparation goes.
Yeah. And I think that edge might be further edged by that social element that you mentioned, Hal, of being able to just brew a pot of coffee and the egalitarian, let's just make a pot of coffee.
Yeah.
Right.
Just the coffee itself is going to determine whether it's a good cup of coffee more so than the preparation of it.
I think we have our answer.
Is it the classic American drip coffee machine?
I think it is.
Just ease of access.
Yeah. Well, Hal, bring us home.
People of the world, you can get the craziest Rube Goldberg machine you could imagine to make coffee. And it might be the best coffee you've ever had in your life, but sometimes good enough is good enough. And you're trading that dream cup of coffee for something that's good, something that you can make for a lot of people, something you can set up for yourself and have it ready at the go. And that is why the best coffee preparation kind of meets everybody in the middle. It is the classic drip coffee machine. Sorry, fancy folks, to disappoint you.
Italians.
Sorry, Italian. Another apology from me to the people of Italy. I'm sorry.
I'll tell them.
I should apologize too. People in Italy are going places. They have things to do.
That's true. Yeah, they don't have all day.
They're busy.
They're taking the time, but we don't always take the time. And that's why the drip coffee machine's so great. Asked and answered. I will take the time right now to say thank you to Bridger Winegar. Thank you so much for coming on here. This has been an absolute delight.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad we were able to settle this without any big fights.
Yeah. Once and for all, for all people, for all time. So where do you want people to find you on the internet or in the world?
God.
Do you want them to find you at Found Coffee?
I need an assassin. Track me down. No, you can follow I Said No Gifts on Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram. You can listen to the podcast, the internet.
Yeah. You're all over it.
Yes. And you should do all of those things.
There.
You should do all of those things because I Said No Gifts is just pure joy.
Yes.
That's very sweet.
It's a delight. You're so fun. This was so great to have you on here. This topic is closed, but there are many more topics to discuss. So please reach out to us via email at wegotThisPodcast@gmail.com or
share your crazy coffee making methods in our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/WeGotThisPodcast. Follow us on other social media at We Got This Podcast, but on Instagram, we are at We Got This Show. Thank you to producer Ken Plume, researcher Kate McManus, and graphic designer Uri Kelman.
And thank you as always to our musicians, Jonathan Dinerstein and Mike Furman, for our score and theme song respectively. And thanks to you, the people of the world, for whom Hal has made a great big pot of drip coffee and with whom we will sit around and have great conversations about things that are important to us and all the delightful minutiae of life. And it's because of you we are able to do this. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. For Hal Lublin, I'm Mark Gagliardi.
For Mark Gagliardi, I'm Hal Lublin. And don't worry, everybody. We got this.
We got this.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows supported
directly
by you.